everyone. We'll call the Committee on Commerce, Consumer Protection, and Health to order for purposes of hearing House Bill 2502, House Draft 1, relating to health. This proposed SD1 was brought to us by the Attorney General. It authorizes the Department of Health to screen, test, and monitor travelers, provides for penalties for noncompliance, amends and adds definitions and procedural and administrative provisions into Chapter 325 Hawaii Revised Statutes, establishes a traveler screening special fund, allocates funds from TAT, Transient Accommodations Tax Revenue, and provides an appropriation. As I said, this came to us from the Department of the Attorney General, and so we are hearing this measure. And first we have, it's kind of interesting because with COVID-19, we only have written testimony. So I will notice the testimony that we have received, and then we can proceed since we have do not have the ability to question the witnesses or ask questions of the departments. Our first testimony is from the Department of Health in support. We have testimony from Council Member Felicia Cowden, Kauai County, in support. We have testimony in opposition from Hawaii Informed Consent. We have testimony in support from the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, testimony in support from the Hawaii Primary Care Association, testimony in support from the American Nurses Association, Hawaii chapter, and from individual Lynn Mataso. I will note for the record that CPH received over 1,700 pieces of testimony in opposition, in the chair's opinion, having looked at them. Most of them actually had not read the bill because most of it, not most, but a number of members that submitted testimony in opposition believed erroneously that this measure authorized universal vaccinations, which is not the case. And so I wanted to just state that for the record, that that is not in the bill. It is not a part of the bill. And I understand how a section of the bill could have been misread to include that, but we will make it clear in the committee report that this is not the case. Let's see. Members, do you have any questions or comments for me? If not, I think we will go into decision making. Okay, so we'll recess the public hearing and go into decision making. And let me. Okay, the Committee on Commerce, Consumer Protection, and Health will come back to order. The item on our agenda is House Bill 2502, House Draft 1. There are obviously concerns on this measure. Chair does not believe that this is the final process or the final version of this measure. It needs to go on to Ways and Means. So the chair is going to recommend that in addition to the other items proposed in the SD1, that we have a defective date, that we note in the committee report that we want the Attorney General to weigh in on some kind of process for dealing with folks who would be quarantined that are not residents of Hawaii and would not have access to maybe understanding how to deal with the judicial system. So there needs to be some other mechanism rather than having to process the court. Does that language cover it for you, Senator Thielen?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think we should restrict it to people who are not residents of Hawaii, because I think what we're gonna need is due process where somebody has put into quarantine or isolation, regardless of whether they're a resident or not. That's a fairly simplified process if we're gonna be doing it after the fact. It's gonna be especially important for people who aren't residents, because they're not going to have access to, understanding the legal system here, but a lot of residents won't either. And it's going to be raising due process issues. So I think it's best if we have some type of expedited ex parte process if somebody does want to challenge it after the fact.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I've always wished I'd gone to law school, but did not. So glad to have others who can advise. So in addition to the items that were mentioned, we are going to include an expedited due process ex parte process in the statute, and legal minds will help me craft that language to make sure that there's a way that folks who are being isolated, ordered into isolation or quarantine, if they feel that that's not appropriate, have a way of challenging that and have it done in an expedited manner. Did I miss anything else? We're going to be deleting parts 4 and 7. We're going to be removing references to the transient accommodations tax. If WAM wants to do that, that's their purview, not mine, not this committee's. We're going to be inserting language offered by the Hawaii Primary Care Association and also requested by Representative Kobayashi. This has to do with the telehealth options, making sure that those processes are codified and available for use during this pandemic. We're going to remove the sole authority of the Director of Health to declare a public health emergency. That instead needs to be vested as it is with the governor. So we'll provide language that says the Director of Health can only declare a public health emergency in consultation with the governor, and it would be the governor that would actually issue that, not the Department of Health. Specifying that interim rules need to be established by October 1, 2020, require the Department of Health to establish permanent rules by June 30, 2022. There are some other technical amendments that need to be made. Senator Ruderman, did that cover the items that you were interested in?
Time for brief comments?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. So thank you, Chair. I recognize the concern that brought this bill before us. I understand how serious it is. I'm very cautious about going down this road. I share some of the concerns of the thousands of people we heard that oppose it. Certainly not all, but some of them. I would be more comfortable if it had a much quicker sunset date so we can revisit and analyze it quickly with public input and review. I appreciate the efforts by the chair, especially those you enumerated just now, to improve the bill. Thank you very much. I think those are significant. As it is, I'm inclined to oppose it on final reading, but I'll support it with reservations for now to continue the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. Any other comments? If not, the recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Okay. Senator Kang. Excused. Nishihara goes aye. Senator Rudman goes with reservation. Senator Thielen.
Yes.
Okay. Senator I got it. Thank you. Senator Wakai. Excused. Senator Favela. Excused. Motion is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. I believe this brings us to the end of our agenda. Mahalo nui. We're